Hey, Thomas.
Hey, Harry.
Welcome to our living room.
Yeah.
Welcome back, viewers, to our living room.
Let's
Welcome
do
to
it.
the Talk Footy podcast. We're here, Tommy and I, without Max this week. He is
Kicked out.
kicked out. Yes,
Yes.
we banished him to Peru.
Did it? Who lost last year of the match of the week?
I don't think we tallied
we
it up.
ever tallied it up. We'll say Max lost. He's off
Yeah.
the pod. We're gonna have tryouts. Viewers, if you want to be the third person on the podcast, send in a video.
Send in
a song.
some talents.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll pick the coolest talents.
Yeah.
You don't have to know about soccer.
No. So Max is off the pod. So just Tommy and I from here on out. So we are nicely posted up in our living room, in our nice chairs, enjoying ourselves, feeling right at home.
Yes.
And we welcome all of you. We're going to make this episode nice and low key and just kind of check in on all of these games that have been happening, kind of where we're at so far in the season, talk about some big storylines, talk about some things we're hoping for, and really just riff. So
Yeah, let's riff.
should we start off with some Leeds United States of America?
Yes, the Leeds, Major League Soccer.
Yes.
Let's go. They're good. They beat Chelsea 3-0. I didn't watch the full game, but I watched enough of it to get upset. Leeds were a really good pressing team, very much so. You can see that in the first goal with Aronson just closing down Mendy. Mendy should have cleared it, but also had nowhere to really go, and there's no one really showing for the ball. And then it was just downhill from there. What do you think of Leeds?
Yeah, well, let's start with Chelsea. So I was pretty frustrated. I went to bed at 3, woke up prompt for the 8 a.m. game.
Nice.
A little delirious, and did not enjoy myself from a
Right.
Chelsea side. From an American side, we'll get to that. But yeah, I was pretty bummed to watch Chelsea play. They didn't look good. There was no attack. They barely had any chances other than Sterling within the first minute. So yeah, they did not look very good. And it, frustrates me a little bit because I think one of Tuchel's problems is he is such a good defensive coach, but attacking, I don't always see us as the best. And sometimes his team selection is a little bit odd to me.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem like sometimes the best, at least, who I think should be out there.
Right.
And it was a little tough. We had Jorginho and Conor Gallagher in the middle, who are both great players, but they didn't really play well together. They didn't really do much for me as a duo. And I'm kind of conflicted about where Chelsea's midfield sits these days. Kind of what our goals are if we're still looking to sign players. I don't really know.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the midfield. There's just nothing there. When Conte plays, we have some life to it because Conte actually progresses the ball, especially it's against a team against like Leeds, where you can actually kind of punish them for pressing so hard through, like, once you get the ball and you can progress it quickly, that's how you kind of counter against teams that are pressing really quickly. And we have the players like Jorginho and Kovacic that can at least have press resistance. So sometimes we can like hold off on the press, and then once it gets to the final third, there's nothing. We can't punish teams once we have quality across the board, but we can't punish teams because there's nothing there at the final third. Part of it is, I think, like, lack of a final man making a run a lot of the times, either from midfield or like Cucurella isn't good in the final third. And I feel like we talked about this. I think Chilwell would be a better option against a team like Leeds, where Chilwell can actually drift into like the space in the middle and take shots and score goals, because the goals aren't coming from the top three right now. And there's something has to change with Tuchel's system. If he has Mount, Kai, and Sterling, and none of them are getting shots off, something's wrong. And it has to come from either them creating more, or just like something in the midfield has to happen for them to create chances.
Yeah, I don't really know what our solution is or like what our goal is. Like if we're gonna stick with this formation, if that's kind of Tuchel's end game.
Yeah.
I'm very conflicted. I don't really see kind of our trajectory right now, which is frustrating. It's kind of tough, and I'm not. I'm still hopeful that we'll do well and we'll play well. But it's tough with teams like Arsenal and Tottenham also looking very, very good and getting results. More importantly,
What game were we watching? We were watching another team in Serie A play a 3-4-3.
Atalanta.
Playing Atalanta play a 3-4-3, and they just like, especially like Tuchel's 3-4-3 is much different than like Atalanta's or Brighton, and the fact that they have a player like Jorginho that doesn't act as a dual midfield that can get up and down. He's playing like a team like Inter with a 3 in the back and then a pivot like Brozovic is, but then usually there's two more attackers or like 4 more midfielders that like will crash the box, and it's just so defensive and so regressive to the point where this was supposed to be Tuchel coming in and like giving some solidity and then progressing from there, creating like a more attacking midfield. I feel like either Jorginho has to go or a position, or we change to like more like a 4 or 4-1, a 3-1-4-2, like an Inter. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, what do you think about Mount playing deeper?
I always like when Mount plays deeper. He's not a right forward. Like Mount can play, like if we have a 3 in the midfield, like Conte and Mount and Jorginho as a pivot, like something like that would work because it would give more balance. We wouldn't have to have players shifting into the midfield to provide support. There'd be 3 players there.
I also think Gallagher could prove to be like a good backup to Mount, or a little bit more consistent there, or give Gallagher the opportunity to play further up.
Yeah. Right.
But I think the thing is, whenever either of those players play in the midfield, they're in a midfield pair and they're not strong enough defensively to be able to do that, because where they shine in the midfield is being able to like you said, press resistant or advance the ball forward.
Yeah.
So it's helpful if then they have someone there to like back them up. If they have like 2 8s there or something like that.
Yeah, I think Gallagher at Crystal Palace was definitely like had the freedom to be the creative player. I think against Leeds he had like horrendous pass accuracy because he's not used to the system of like control, and just like building a system where Mount or a Gallagher in a attacking midfielder position that has the ability to kind of be more attacking, more free. Because that's Mount's our best player. We need to focus on our best players. Like Mount, we create a system around Mount, around Reece James as a wing back, and that's why like something like Inter style play would work. And I feel like a lot of the rumors don't fix any of our problems. Like if we don't, Kai has been pretty awful this year so far. Three games, nothing going. So do we need a striker? Maybe a striker would work, and we could do dual strikers, but not like De Jong. I guess Aubameyang might be all right, but I don't think De Jong helps us at all because we have Conte and Kovacic, and like he wouldn't take over for Mount's position as an attacking midfielder.
He could be that soul if you're talking about he could be that like more true CDM position.
Is he though? Is he a CDM? He can be a 10 and
he's more versatile than any of our current midfielders.
That's true. Could be.
He could be molded into any one of those things. But honestly, that's why I still think Declan Rice would be a good signing. I know that's just kind of a buzzword almost at this point, but that's still why I think he would be a good signing, because to find just like a lone CDM these days, I feel like it's so hard. There's not that many true, strong, solid single man CDMs out there.
Yeah.
And he's one of them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't know.
and on the other side of the coin, Leeds.
Yeah. Good.
I saw them on FTBL's like top 10 rankings. They were about sixth or seventh, I think, in the
Really?
top 10 teams in the world based on current form.
All right.
But I'm enjoying it.
Very good.
Fun to see Jesse Marsh celebrating there on the sidelines, and fun to see Aronson getting his first goal in the Premier League, as well as Tyler Adams putting on a pretty good show. And basically just those players being crucial to Leeds' performance over these past couple weeks. It's fun to see. It's fun to see those Americans doing well. I think it'll give some boost to a lot of American supporters. I've seen all over social media people, loving Brendan Aronson and all that. So that's fun, I think.
Yeah, it is fun. I think it's good that Jesse Marsh is finding success. And he's gone to a team that has a very similar style of play as like the Red Bull teams of Leipzig and Salzburg. So I'm glad that he can bring in those players to have success. And it maybe I'm not sure if he can be like a national team coach with that kind of system or have enough time to implement that kind of system. But it's a good trajectory
at some point.
Yeah.
At some point.
We're hoping.
Like it'll happen. Yeah.
Other big old news, Man United beating Liverpool, which is hilarious. What a strange start of the season this has been.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we've talked about even their defeat at Brentford. Maybe.
Yeah, we talked about it. We went into
that's when we went into the big discussion.
Yeah.
With them. Yeah. So they had that terrible showing at Brentford, and then came on looking like a totally different team.
Yeah, their press worked, but the first time I saw Man United successfully press a team, and it was Liverpool. Granted, it was a pretty weak Liverpool side. They didn't have Fabinho came on late, so their midfield was Henderson, Elliott, and Milner. So they didn't have their structure was kind of off. Joe Gomez was in instead of Matip, but even then, it's like they still looked rough. I think. Huh?
No, I'm trying to think of what was, because yes, Liverpool were not to their full strength, and they've been kind of faltering to start off the season.
Yeah.
But what changed with United? Because that was, I
feel like it's strange because when United play this game in particular, Ten Hag just went with kind of like, it was almost counterattacking. It was almost like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer counterattacking Man United, and it worked great to Man United's strengths because they still had Rashford and Sancho and Alanga just like running the wings, and like as soon as they pressed and got the ball, they were like, the second goal came from a pure counterattack of them pressing, getting the ball, shooting out to Rashford, who put it away. And it's interesting to see, like against Brentford, they were forced to kind of like, because they were on paper the better side, they expected to have more possession, and when they tried to possess the ball with De Gea just like passing out of the back, it failed like immediately. Mm-hmm. This game, I saw like a graph showing De Gea's plays out of the back, punts every single time, and they were playing just like pure. They wanted Liverpool to have the ball and them to press. And I think with Alanga and Sancho on the wings, they had a really good grid press with them. They kind of like dropped back into like a 4-2, like a 4-1-4-1 essentially, and it worked.
I think Liverpool
suffocated them.
70% of the possession.
Yeah.
But Man U still came out 2-1. It's also, I think, was exciting, as I'm sure United fans are excited to see Sancho and Rashford on the score sheet.
Yeah.
Because those are two guys who desperately need some goals.
Yeah.
And I thought Rashford looked good, honestly. And that was a pretty good finish as well. Great run. Same with Sancho. Great finish from Sancho, sending multiple defenders the wrong way. And Ronaldo coming off the bench in the 80th minute. I think that's kind of a sign of what Ten Hag sees with his team going forward. And I think that's the right decision. Because I think Ten Hag wants to build a system, and you can't build that system around Ronaldo. But hell of a player to bring off in the 80th minute when you need something special as well. So
right. I think like Manchester United fans, like the narrative has absolutely shifted. Like last week I saw a lot of Lisandro Martinez just like everyone roasting him, and then this week everyone's praising him as if he's a god. And I feel like it's very like reactionary, and I think a showing against a lesser side, they need to beat a team and hold the most possession for me to be to show like that they're actually legit.
Yeah,
I feel like this was a little bit of a fluke, especially with a Liverpool side that showed nothing really. They were pretty rough.
Yeah, I do think it's maybe a fluke, but I also think what they needed was confidence, and this gave them confidence. So I think that'll help them show that they're not awful, that they still can play this game. And I assume that is a huge boost for those players, for Ten Hag, for the supporters.
Yeah.
And hopefully for them that it sticks. But I think really what they needed was that kind of spark plug in them. And then speaking of possession, they also brought in one of the best CDMs of all time with Casemiro. So I think that'll
be awesome.
Definitely be a huge change for them to bring in that level of seniority into their midfield, to bring in that anchor. We're talking about how it's hard to find those true CDMs. He is one of those few, and he is an elite player. So bringing someone like him in to really build that team around, I think for the past year we've been talking about how they just need a CDM. That's all they need.
And they brought one in.
And they
brought a huge one in. Yeah. That would it. I just hit me what a good signing that is, like an actual CDM. United signing an actual CDM.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
And
that's a turnaround.
feel like they'll probably have to change their formation, I would assume, because they've been playing more with that Fred McTominay combo.
Yeah.
But they'll likely have to play 3 in the middle, I would imagine. Or, they could play with Casemiro and Fred.
Yeah, Casemiro, Fred, or Casemiro and McTominay, or even him and Eriksson. Like, I feel like he can slot in.
Well, I guess they did play 3 in the middle over the weekend because Eriksson played, didn't they?
Yeah, but it was Eriksson, McTominay midfield, and Bruno was still in that cam. So, I don't know. I think he could just slot in for one of those. He might not be the most like progressing player, but I think even then he's still like a huge upgrade.
Yeah, that's like stability basically is what they signed.
Yeah.
Which they needed desperately, especially in the midfield. So yeah, I think that's a good signing. And they're still pretty heavily rumored with Antony from Ajax. So that could give them also a little bit more depth. Alonga maybe not, or might not get as much time if Antony comes over.
Yeah.
But I think Casemiro is great business. And I think for Casemiro, that's also an exciting move. He's, getting further along in his career. He's had unbelievable success at Madrid with, I think, 4 Champions Leagues. So, what a player. Excited to see him in a new chapter. And I think that's also then passing of the guard over at Madrid to Tchouaméni or Camavinga.
Yeah.
Getting a
combo of both. Yeah. I think Camavinga is more of a replacement for like Kroos and Modric.
Think Tchouaméni is the CDM. Yeah.
Which is awesome. How about, we talk about some La Liga. We watched Barcelona over the weekend. That was a fun game.
Who are they playing again?
They're playing Sociedad.
Oh, yeah.
Sociedad looked, I think, good in the first half, and then kind of fell off. And it was 1-1 when Ansu Fati came on. It absolutely changed the game. And what I took away from the game is Pedri and Gavi are incredible. They're going to be in that midfield for the next 15 years. which is crazy.
Pedri, as soon as you pointed that out about Pedri, that kind of every time Barcelona goes to like start a play, they have it in their back.
Yeah.
They pass it to Pedri. Pedri starts the play.
Yeah. Even if it's like the smallest touch back, Pedri has to like sign off on it.
Right,
essentially,
he goes back and finds the ball, makes a pass, and then the play begins.
Yeah.
And you can tell that's hours of training, and Xavi kind of instructing this team about how they're going to start, and instructing Pedri about how to take over the midfield.
Yeah.
And Xavi's a pretty good example of that. Yeah, but I agree. As soon as you pointed that out, I was just watching him the whole time,
awesome.
As well as Gavi.
Yeah, both of them are great. Lewandowski scoring a goal or two.
2 and an assist, I believe.
Yeah. So Fati had 2 goals and assists.
No, 1 goal, 2 assists.
1 goal, 2 assists.
And then Lewa had 2 goals, 1 assist.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun to
Yeah,
watch.
good to see Lewandowski. I guess we didn't watch the very start of the game, but Lewandowski looked like he scored right in like the second minute, I believe, something like that.
Yeah.
And then beautiful team goal for his second. Dembele with a goal in there. But yeah, Fati was incredible. And Max isn't here with us this week, but he is a big proponent of Fati, especially in the Vinicius versus Ansu Fati conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a pretty good showing from him. And he looked so composed the whole time. I think we were saying all of them, all these La Masia guys who just look at ease playing together.
Oh, definitely.
And they've been doing that for years, but yeah, it looks like barely even sweating. Beautiful passes, a good finish in there as well. 2 great assists. So
yeah, they're going to be
pretty impressive,
dominating. I feel like Fati is going to take over that spot for Ferran Torres, because Torres didn't look great.
Torres was pretty disappointing.
But yeah, they're playing they're playing a weird formation. I couldn't tell if it was like a 4-3-3 or Balde was playing
all out attack.
Yeah, it was kind of, I don't know. I don't watch that much Barcelona in La Liga, so maybe that's what they do against sides that are playing more of a low block against them.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. So if you're talking Ferran Torres versus Ansu Fati, and then kind of on the other side of that you have Rafinha versus Dembele.
Mm-hmm.
And Dembele obviously missed a couple shots, and they were pretty poor efforts.
Yeah,
but he still got his goal, and he still looked very good. I thought
Dembele is so.
I thought he still was very exciting and dangerous, and like occupied at least 2 defenders almost at all times.
One of the quicker players like out there.
Quickest,
right now. Probably the quickest. But yeah, I don't know about Dembele because I feel like he needs a finishing element, or just like he needs outputs in order for him to really succeed, whether to be like better crosses, or he gets a lot of chances when he cuts in and he just can't finish them whatsoever. But he finished 1, which is good for him, but it was a pretty good goal, but it was not like the most difficult chance of the game.
I think one thing that he was on the pitch, and obviously he's a proponent of this, but that's when he was on the pitch, Barcelona looked pretty uninspiring. They didn't have as many chances or whatnot. But Fatih came on. I don't know if that was before or after Dembele got his goal, but it must have been.
It was a little before.
Well, I think Fatih assisted that.
Yeah.
So it was. So he came on, and then there was also that goal scored. So I'm curious to see if Dembele is on there for more of a period of time with some of these other players without Ferran Torres, how he plays.
Yeah.
And kind of that difference, because he is definitely more dangerous than Rafinha. Maybe not as clinical finishing wise, or creative with passing, but he
one-on-one he'll be anyone.
Yeah, unreal.
Incredible.
So fun player to watch. Yeah, let's jump back to England for that Newcastle City game. Oil Classico. That was a Jack Bonney quote, actually, so I'll give him credit where it's due. Yeah, that was a pretty exciting game. Obviously, City went up 1-0 pretty early on with a good ball in from Bernardo Silva, who looked spectacular, and then played it into Gundogan for his second goal in the past 2 weeks. What? First of all, before we get on the rest of this, I think we always talk about underrated players. Gundogan has got to be one of those guys. He is so underrated, and he is phenomenal. Honestly, same with Rodri, but yeah. So the game ended up 3-3 with a flurry of goals. Trippier with a free kick. Yeah, crazy game.
How about St. Maximin just
Kind of
putting
ebb and flow. St. Maximin,
Walker on his ass, or just forcing
yeah, just
everything.
destroying Kyle Walker every
two
time
assists.
he got. Yeah. Not many people can walk past Kyle Walker like that. But yeah, he's obvious. I feel like he's a player I'm always watching. I'm like, what is going on? It's like all like craziness, but it
works.
It's crazy. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's fun. I think Newcastle came with a good plan. They have a lot of players that can, they can just cause chaos. I feel like Man City is a very controlled team. That's how they differ from Liverpool a lot. Is when they gain possession, they instead of trying to whip the ball in or counterattack, they choose to really control the game. I feel like Newcastle's players and their game plan. I didn't watch the full game, but just creating chaos and not letting Man City control the game is a great way to just counter, because you're not gonna come up against City and play a controlled game and win. It's almost impossible. You have to create some chaos, and you might lose 5-0, but you also might come away with a result like Newcastle did.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like teams might be starting to get. It might not be a. I think City and Liverpool are still the two best teams in the league, but I think teams might have more tools in their belts to counteract them this year. There's just more ideas to throw a wrench in their plans. I think this is a good example.
Yeah. I think it also speaks to how good Newcastle's transfer business has been.
Yeah.
Because they've really built a whole new team over the past, just since January, basically, since that takeover occurred.
Yeah.
They got 2 transfer windows now, but I think what's really interesting about them is that they haven't had any of these huge signings. They're not signing players that we were predicting where they're going to go sign Jesse Lingard and Holland, these huge signings. And they've been really smart about their business. They haven't, broken the bank. They haven't skewed their wage budget or these different things that we think about sometimes and how it can really backfire. I think about Everton and a lot of those huge players that they signed on really high wages that just didn't pan out. But I think Newcastle have been very, very smart, and they're really building a team there that we're now seeing can compete at a very high level. And on paper it's not comparable to Man City, but
that takes a while.
Right. That doesn't also
it
doesn't matter. They're still performing.
Yeah, I think. And honestly, I've read a few articles about why Newcastle United they can't go all out this year because of financial fair play, and they're as safe as they've played it, they're approaching their max already for financial fair play because they need to. Their revenue stream needs to catch up, because Man City never had that problem because they could just pump money, and within a few years, everyone was buying shirts. Everyone was a City fan because they were immediately one of the best teams in the world. And Newcastle United is that's kind of a critique of financial fair play as much as it kind of helps teams. It kind of closes off the top 6 because Newcastle United now have a much more difficult time, even though they have the funds to compete with City, because they have to slow down and their expenses have to match their revenue stream for the next 10 years. And yes, eventually that will catch up. People will start watching Newcastle United a lot more. They're going to get results, and that always leads to more revenue. But it's kind of interesting. I don't think they'll ever reach the level of City. It would be very difficult because of how it's kind of financial fair play kind of closes that door of really pumping money in, because you can't yet. The revenue, the commercial side has to catch up first.
That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't really realize that. Well, then even more credit to them for what they've been able to do thus far.
Definitely. Yeah.
Because they're obviously already competing with City somewhat. So
yeah, they won.
Tied.
And I think the other side of the coin is Nottingham Forest, who have gone out and signed like 14 players. And I think it's a really interesting dynamic, because they're going all out in their window, and like afterwards with financial fair play, they're not going to be able to sign like any players in the next 2 years. And if they get relegated, they're screwed, because they have to pay all these players. They just like tore through their entire budget. So it's this like huge gamble, just like revamping the squad and hoping to stay in the Premier League for that $100 million TV revenue stream every year. But yeah, what a gamble that's going to be. And it feels like they don't really have a plan, but I don't know enough about Nottingham Forest to like critique it. But I know they just like bought a guy from Wolves that barely even started from Wolves for like 30 million, and it seems like they're just throwing money, hoping it's gonna
but I think out. Some of their competition, all they need is 16th.
Yep.
They just need to stay up.
16th is 100 million. That's like their goal.
That's all they need. And I think throwing that kind of money around with some teams like Fulham or Bournemouth or even Southampton and Everton, there's a good chance that they can stay up.
Definitely.
So I think it's
worked out. I like Dean Henderson. I like who they get. Who else they get? Lingard. It seems like I watched them beat West Ham, and it seems like things are happening at Nottingham Forest.
Right. I feel like it's a good
energy.
Yeah. Definitely good energy. They're in the top half of the table right now, again above Chelsea, Liverpool, United, and West Ham. So and Leicester, which is maybe a little skewed, but No, I think because really all they do need is to stay up. I think that's a pretty good bet, to be honest. I feel like there's a good chance that they do.
Yeah.
With some of the state of these other clubs, like think about Leicester.
Leicester is probably going to go down. Like if I had to bet, if they get Leicester and like Wolves and Bournemouth, probably.
If Jamie Vardy or like James Maddison gets injured, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, Iheanacho had that one. He went off 2 seasons ago when Vardy was hurt, but I don't know. Leicester seemed to be in a little bit of a predicament down there. Would not want to be there. Honestly, same with West Ham. I'm not really sure what's going on there.
Yeah. They're still a good team.
Yeah,
I surely like they're gonna bounce back, but 3 losses, bottom of the table.
Just a little strange.
Yeah, honestly, they deserved to win against Nottingham Forest. They played better, just got a little unlucky. But they got dismantled by Brighton over the weekend. So
I need Skamaka to start picking it up.
Yeah,
for my fantasy team.
All right, classic.
It's been very poor. Very poor.
Anything else?
I don't think so. No, a lot of games. Do you know who Chelsea plays this weekend?
No, I can check though.
Yeah, let's see. Because I'm trying to think of.
Tomorrow I'm going to watch Rangers against PSV. 2-2 on aggregate Champions League qualifiers. I think that's a pretty good game.
Yeah, talking about big money game. No, I actually watched. No, we're wrapping up here, but I watched that Dynamo Kyiv game against Benfica today.
Yeah.
5-0 on ag for Benfica. But Benfica are a very good team.
They are good, yeah.
They, it looks like a
walk in
the park.
They weren't like automatically qualified.
Yeah, I agree with that. So they looked dominant. David Neres is so good.
Yeah.
Just slapped a goal home, but also just so explosive. So
Chelsea play Leicester over the weekend, so maybe pick up a dub. And the game of the week, I'm excited for Brighton against Leeds.
Oh, that will be good. Those teams are both so exciting to watch.
Yeah, so fun.
So they're very high energy, which is fun to watch. So yeah, that'll be good. But I think that just about does it. So thank you for joining us for our more chill pod this week. We'll be back with our segments next week, but thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next week.